Hello, folks. Welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson, and we're back at it again. You guys know how we do. It's Tuesday evenings. It's a night about Vegas sports, and we have live sports tonight. Want to know why? The Golden Knights have dropped the puck on their season this year. Already off to a fat start, the 3-0, taking on the Calgary Flames tonight, in Calgary for that matter. Currently have a 2-0 lead at the end of the first period. Golden Knights are healthy, and they look really, really good. Golden Knights look really, really good. They look like they could be contenders if they maintain their health. JP Scott on Twitter, Golden Knights Twitter's already saying, Vegas Golden Knights 82-0. I just scratched my eye in bewilderment. That would be awesome, but impossible. UNLV's on a bit of a slide, good or bad. We'll discuss that for sure. And then, you guys already know, we got to talk about the main reason we have this show. The Raiders on their bye week. On their bye week, gathering after a heartbreaking loss against Kansas City. Honestly, 4 heartbreaking losses on the year already. But is there a light at the end of the tunnel here? Is there optimism? I mean, there's a really good stretch of this season. We're going to touch base on that. Before we get into that, we got to talk about the flagship channel. The reason why we're able to do this, the people who pay the bills, IE Sports Radio. For the past 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon with 5 different tiers. The first one is starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, hosted by the man, the myth, the legend, Larry B. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Yeah, folks, UNLV is off to a fast start this year. We're going to start off with the way the schedule kind of panned out for them. Give me 1 second, please. Checking out UNLV, they're 4-3 on the season. They started out 4-1. They've had a 2-game slide, and to be honest with you guys, it's not like it was unexpected. We talked about this for the past few weeks. It was great to see them play tough against a San Diego State team. I don't think they played poorly at all. It is what it is. They did the best they could. I apologize. They played really tough against New Mexico, edged that one out 31-20. Believe it or not, that game was a bit closer than the score realizes. UNLV gets a late touchdown. The last 2 games have been slobber knockers for UNLV. I mean, they lost 40-7 to San Jose State on October 7th, so a couple weeks ago, and just this last week, you're looking at 42-7 by Air Force. Air Force is a good team. They're just like any other military academy. They cycle in and out of players. They got to get these players in the weight room. They got to get these players, developed within the system. And it seems like, once you get that crop of guys that you rotated in about their junior year, about every 3 years, I put them in the same, and they're not the same type of team. Don't get me wrong. But I put them in the same category as like the University of Iowa. Maybe it's the schedule, but it seems like every 3 to 4 years, Kirk Ferentz and those guys have unbelievable seasons, like unbelievable 10-11 win seasons, and I put Air Force pretty close to that same category where, every 3 to 4 years you can expect a really good season, 8, 9, 10 wins, and there's nothing wrong with that. Air Force is a good team. Their record may not show that this year, the standings, but I think they played some tough teams. They've been dealing with some injuries, and UNLV just got destroyed. Speaking of injuries, Brumfield is still hurt as of right now. It's an unfortunate thing. I think Doug Brumfield is a huge reason why the UNLV Rebels started out 4-1 to begin with. His ability to throw the ball, his ability to extend plays, leave the pocket, pick up first downs. Sometimes the guy ran for 100 yards. I mean, it is what it is. Like, Brumfield is a special athlete. Missing him has been a big deal. And not to mention, they've played a couple really good teams. But missing him, he missed last week's game with a concussion. Running back Aiden Robbins is nursing a nagging knee injury as of right now. And it's kind of their presence has been missed for sure, because those two guys were definitely lighting up the scoreboard those first few weeks of the season, those first 5 weeks of the season for that matter. And realistically, when you look at their schedule, the first 5 games when Brumfield and Robbins were on the roster, on the active roster, I should say, the only game they lost was against California, to a Power 5 team. Well, Power 5, Pac-12. It is what it is. Pac-12 isn't really Power 5. The only reason why it's relevant now is because of, well, USC and Oregon. Even Oregon's kind of struggling this year under Dan Lanning. They're trying to get a handle on that new program and new culture. But the only team that UNLV really struggled against was California. They lost by 6 points. Again, a Power 5 team. It's a respectable loss. So with wins, I mean, honestly, with wins against Idaho State, North Texas, Utah State, and New Mexico, a few of those teams being a part of the Mountain West Conference, looks good. If I'm Coach Arroyo, I'm pleased. You have a team that's developing. You're dealing with some injuries. You're just not that deep yet. You had to deal with the COVID year of recruiting. You had to deal with that off year. I mean, his very first year was the COVID year as a head coach. That's so tough for anybody. Last year you had your finally a full recruiting cycle, something that you could hang your hat on and get some recruits in. This year you brought in some good guys. Again, I think Arroyo's doing a good job. You start off 4-3, but it's not going to get any better this weekend because UNLV Rebels have to play Notre Dame at Notre Dame in South Bend this weekend at 1:30 p.m. And UNLV is still dealing with these injuries. If I'm UNLV, and I say it like this, and I'm never one to throw games. That's not who I am as a coach. That's not who I am as a person. I'm always wanting to fight. But in all realism, if Brumfield and Robbins have nagging injuries the way that they do, or if Brumfield's coming back from a concussion, I'm not playing him this game. No way. The next 4 games UNLV has, San Diego State, Fresno State, Hawaii, Nevada, they're all winnable games. You win 3 of those 4 games, you're at 7 wins in a guaranteed bowl game. If I'm Coach Arroyo, I'm not playing him against Notre Dame. No way. No effing way. I'm not dealing with it. Taryn Rodriguez is here. He's in the chat. Good evening, Mr. Henderson. Have an awesome show. Thanks, Taryn. As always, you're awesome. He said the Golden Knights are healthy, winning, and not in salary cap hell. Nope. They made some moves. You had some players that were selfless, and they took some pay cuts, or restructuring, I should say. So that helped them out a lot. But yes, they are healthy. And when this Golden Knights team, and we talked about it last year, when this Golden Knights team is healthy, they're among the best in the league. Like, they're a team. If you look at the Avalanche the last couple of years in the playoffs, with the exception of last year, because the Avalanche are the defending champs, when the Golden Knights were healthy and playing the Avalanche in the playoffs the 2 previous years, not last year, but the 2 previous years, they beat the Avalanche in a 7-game series in the playoffs. Like, the Golden Knights are a team that match up very well with the Avalanche. I personally believe the Avalanche, although they earned their title last year, a lot of it had to do with they didn't have to meet the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights just have a recipe for breakaway speed. They're great on a transition, and so far that's held true. And this year they're healthy. Being healthy is everything in sports. The best ability is availability, is what coaches always say, right? It's that cliche thing that coaches always say, but it's true. Best ability is availability. If your best players are available, about half of their best players last year were injured towards the end of the year. That doesn't help. That kills your momentum. That kills what you're trying to do as a team. They still finished 4th. I think if those players are healthy, you have an entirely different outcome possibly in the Pacific. Maybe not. Maybe you don't overcome the Flames, because the Calgary Flames are absolutely nutty, but they were nutty last year. They had an unbelievable season. But I think you're competitive. I think you finish in the top 3 in that division for sure, and you're looking at a wild card at the worst. UNLV volleyball plays first place San Diego State on Thursday. UNLV is in second place in the Mountain West Conference. That's awesome. I think UNLV in general is up, Taryn. I really do. I think UNLV is starting to turn a corner. The new facilities around the campus, the fact that you're in a warm weather climate at all times. Yes, it is Las Vegas. It's expensive to live there, but overall, like the atmosphere, I just in general, I think UNLV is rising, and it makes sense, especially that football team with that $40 million facility that just went up recently. I really believe that's going to help them with recruits, and I think Coach Arroyo is spot on. Like, having those type of amenities to show off to players when it's when it's down to them and other teams in the Mountain West, like why wouldn't you go to UNLV? You know what to expect. You got an indoor facility. You got excellent stadium to play in. Your own corner of the Death Star that you can play in at any time. I mean, UNLV is on it, man. UNLV is a place to play. Whether it's volleyball, apparently softball, baseball last year were very good. The basketball team is good year to year, and now the football is on the way up. So this is excellent news for UNLV overall. Yeah, it's going to be tough. And Taryn also chimed in and said, yikes, UNLV football is playing Notre Dame. Please tell me ND is playing UNLV a half chunk of money to play. I would hope so. I would hope UNLV is getting at least half to $750,000 for this. That's usually what that price would be to play. I think this is, especially at this time. Again, tell me if I'm wrong, Taryn, if you're still listening. The way I look at it is you have your starting quarterback who led you to 4-1 start before he had his concussion. He's coming back from concussion. You have a running back with nagging injuries. Your next 4 games are against Mountain West teams that are not very good. They're not very high in the standings. They're very beatable. I don't think I play either one of those guys. I think I save them for that home stretch. I really do. It sounds terrible, but Notre Dame's going to win this game. Notre Dame could be beat up too, and I still think they win that game. Notre Dame's finally starting to turn a corner. Are they dealing with attrition as well? Yes. I think a lot of college football teams right now are dealing with injuries. Notre Dame being one of them, and they're having a down year because Coach Kelly left. I think Marcus Freeman's really trying to turn the corner there. He's trying to build his own culture, instill his own culture. It doesn't look very good right now, but they'll get it figured out. And this is just one of those confidence-building games for Notre Dame. If I'm UNLV, I don't play Brumfield. If I'm UNLV, I don't play Robbins. I save them for the stretch, for real. Taryn chimes in and says, yeah, save your stars recovering for conference games. Absolutely. I'm not risking their health for a game. For $750,000, let Notre Dame run 40 points up on you. As long as those guys are healthy for the stretch that matters, who cares? Leave it alone. With that said, I mean, we also got the Golden Knights. The puck's dropped again. We've talked about it. The puck's dropped on their season. They've started off 3-0. They're killing it. They got 6 points in the Pacific Division, so they got the division lead. Again, right behind them is the Flames, who they're playing tonight. I just don't see the Flames beating the Golden Knights right now. The Golden Knights are just absolutely on fire. Yeah, for sure. Goals for 10, goals against 5 in 3 games. So 10 goals scored in 3 games, 5 goals allowed. The differential obviously would be 5. It's pretty simple math, especially this early in the season. Right now you have a 2-0 lead, so that isn't even counting towards that differential as we speak. I just really like the way the Golden Knights look. We talked about in the offseason, actually it's a 2-1 lead against the Flames. Of course the Flames would come out and in period 2 and come out firing off. The one thing you can talk about the Golden Knights, again, we talked about it last year quite a bit. When the Golden Knights are healthy, they were a very dangerous team. They've been a very, very dangerous hockey team for years. Ever since their inception in the league, they've just done a really good job of making trades and signing the right guys to the roster in order to make a run, to make a difference. They've been to the NHL Finals twice in their existence already. That's incredible. Yeah, overall, I think there's no reason, as long as they stay healthy this year, as long as the coach does a good job of managing minutes and ensuring that these guys are good for a late run. If you get second place in a division, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it really improves your seeding that much, depending on the conference and stuff. I think the parity in the NHL is so great now that, in all honesty, like, being second in your division isn't bad. Being first is good, but it's not the be-all end-all anymore either, right? Overall, if you get second or third, you made playoffs. It doesn't matter. It's how you're playing when you get to playoffs. I believe that in any sport, man. The momentum you have. Is your team hitting the stride? Does it feel good? Do you feel like there's improvement at every practice? Do you feel like there's improvement in every game from your best players and from the players that really are just role players? Like if everybody is hitting their stride at the right time, you're dangerous. Doesn't matter when, as long as you're getting it at the right time. That's all that matters. And in my opinion, I thought that the Golden Knights just got hurt at the worst time last year. Now they're good to go. Adam Karnick chimes in. Momentum is a huge thing indeed. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Again, half of the Golden Knights' notable players from last year's team, majority of their top goal scorers were all injured when it mattered most, and they still finished 4th in the division. You have all those guys healthy, and it's a different story. It really is. Right now they look good. They have a 2-1 lead against a very good Flames team. I think the Flames are one of those really dangerous teams in the NHL because they kept that roster together. They did a great job. They killed it last year, and I think it goes to show when the Golden Knights are healthy, they can beat anybody. So right now they're 3-0. They have 6 points. They have the lead in the division. They have a 2-1 lead over the second place team, the Calgary Flames. It's very early in the year, but you can't underestimate what the Golden Knights have. And I think it's great. The only I could also tell you the other thing that I think worked against the Golden Knights last year was the fact that they parted ways with Marc-Andre Fleury. Yes, the Flower was kind of, he's reaching that plateau, right? He was reaching out that downhill slope in his career, and his play was suffering a bit. But I just don't know if you could play as bad as that goalie played last year. It just wasn't great. Again, team was hurt, a lot of injuries, not a lot of scoring, not a lot of defensive help. So I'm sure that's a big difference now that your entire team's healthy. We'll see how it goes, but I really like the Golden Knights right now. I really like the way they're skating. I think their transition hockey is some of the best in the league. If you have turnovers, if you are a team that turns the puck over and you're playing the Golden Knights, you better watch out because they're fast. When Vegas gets the ball back, man, they're fast for sure. So it's one of those things. Like you can't sleep on them. I think they're a contender. They're definitely a contender, and as long as they stay healthy, they'll be perfectly fine. It's early, I get it, but if they stay healthy, they're a team that's totally going to be in the 1-2 place in the Pacific, no problem. Adam says, I expect Vegas to be back in the playoffs this year. Too much talent to not. Exactly. And they figured out their cap hell situation, right? They had some restructures going on. I feel like they made a couple trades that actually kind of helped them get them younger. So I'm in full agreement. I totally believe that the Vegas Golden Knights will definitely be on the right track to make a playoff run and possibly make a championship run. Again, in the 5 years that they've been a team, they've been to the NHL Finals twice. That's absolutely incredible. It's fantastic. In the 5 years that they've been a team, the Colorado Avalanche, who won last year, has fallen to the Vegas Golden Knights 2 of those 5 years in the playoffs. In general, I think the Vegas Golden Knights are a very dangerous franchise. They do a great job. Did they trade away a lot of assets? Yes. Did they spend a lot of money? Fine. That's what good teams do, man. They use their resources to build a product and put it on the ice. In any sport, you want to use your resources the right way. I think Vegas has done a very good job of doing that over the years, and they deserve credit. So we'll give you guys live updates as we go. Period 2 again. Pardon me a moment. It looks like they called off that goal by the Flames. The Flames, it looked like it was 2-1. I'm guessing a review took place, and they removed that goal. There's 12:45 left in period 2, and still a 2-0 lead. That's great cushion for the Golden Knights. We'll give you guys updates as the game goes on. When we get back, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk the Raiders. They're coming off a bye week, coming off a heartbreaking loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're going to talk about the new direction of the Raiders. Like, can they hit a reset button when we get back? And this is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college in the CCCAA and in the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Yeah, welcome back to another edition of the Tuesday edition of that matter, Sin City Sports Show presented by Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson, and we're back at it again, folks. IE Vegas is where it's at. I think it's the fastest growing sports market in America. We have to keep this going. We have to keep promoting this show. I promise you the YouTube videos are on the way. I've been talking about it on a week-to-week basis. Guess what? My football season is coming to an end. My team is currently in the playoffs. Hopefully it's not the end. Hopefully we play in the championship game next week. But if that's not the case, I will have a lot more free time to divide towards this show and marketing the show and putting videos out that I believe will break down the Raiders, break down Vegas sports, and hopefully add to the content here that's going to get this show on the map, because I believe it has a ton of potential. There's just not a lot of people doing this in the Vegas area, so we got to keep this up. As you folks know, we're going to turn our focus to the Las Vegas Raiders, but before we do that, we got to give you a scoring update. It is still 2-0. 2-0 Golden Knights with 9 minutes and 52 seconds left in the second period. Golden Knights off to a fast start this year, 3-0. Currently 2-0. Currently 2-0 lead against the Calgary Flames, who are in second place in the Pacific Division. Obviously, the Vegas Golden Knights are in first place. This would cement them in first place if they win this evening, and it looks like they're well on their way. As long as they keep playing the way they are, maybe get an extra goal or two, you could be good. But, the NHL is crazy. I've seen teams down 3 goals and score 4 to come back and win. It's just how the NHL is, man. It just depends on when the defense starts getting soft and when these teams can start getting the puck in transition and scoring quickly. But so far, the Golden Knights have been A-okay. They've been solid. We got to love them. The Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders on a bye week. They had a bye week last week. A lot of drama going on with the Davante Adams. Here's the good news. It seems as though, and pardon me 1 second. According to Fox, it seems as though there is no imminent punishment for Davante Adams. Here's my take on this, and I probably should have touched on it last week. Davante Adams should not have pushed that guy. It was too far. I get it that he was frustrated. I do appreciate that he apologized after the game. I do believe it was sincere. Again, it was in the moment. A lot of athletes just wouldn't do that, period. All right? But this is what I will say. I don't think the league is doing anything, and we tweeted this out on the Sin City _IESR, right? Sin City Sports Twitter page. I don't believe the NFL was going to fine him. I don't believe I thought a fine could be coming, actually. Punishment, though, suspension, it would have been a chicken shit thing to do by the league, by far. It is the league's responsibility, for folks that don't know this, it is the league's responsibility to ensure that player safety is held at the utmost importance. So before, during, middle of the game, after the game, it is the NFL's job, according to the NFLPA guide laws, to ensure that there is a safe environment for the athletes at all times, including and ensuring that media and tunnels are absolutely clear for the players to get through. Right? You don't want nothing happening to these players. In Kansas City, a media member, a cameraman, was walking in front of Davante Adams. He shouldn't have been pushed. Don't get me wrong. The guy shouldn't have been pushed. I kind of thought it was messed up. But that kid should know better. I don't care how young he is. He should know better. The kid filed charges. Okay. I mean, if he wanted an NFL media career, he will no longer have an NFL media career, because there's no way that anybody in the NFL is going to allow him to be on a sideline ever again. So if he's gonna sue somebody or press charges, you better do it, and you better hope you get some cash. If you don't, if that was what your dream job was, you just blew it up, because you had absolutely no integrity and decided to walk in the middle of a tunnel after a game, a really close game for that matter. Again, heartbreaker in Kansas City. The good news is there's no imminent suspension as of a day ago, according to Fox Sports website. Adams should not be suspended. Do I believe there's a fine coming? Possibly. But again, it's the NFL's fault. And if they would have suspended him, the NFL would absolutely be going against that whole player safety is the utmost important to us type thing. That vibe, that statement that they release every single year. If they would have suspended Davante Adams for pushing somebody that was walking in front of him when he was supposed to be exiting the field in the tunnel, that would totally look bad on the NFL. Really petty. Really dumb. So I'm glad he's not getting suspended so far. There's no fine. There could be a fine coming. Wouldn't be surprised. It is what it is. The next thing was the officiating. I thought the officiating was really bad, both ways, right? The one call I could say that was really bogus was that pass interference call. Okay, or sorry, the roughing the passer call. It was definitely a roughing the passer, and it was a fumble recovery. They can be both, man. They could both be right. By the law, by the rule, he landed on top of Derek Carr. Whether he's maintaining his balance and trying to recover a fumble means nothing. According to the rule book, the man landed on top of Derek Carr. There's a freeze frame. You can absolutely see it. He's on top of him. Granted, I think it's bogus, and I think it's lame, and I think it's soft. I think the league is it's getting to the point where the league is becoming a two-hand touch team, or two-hand touch league, and it's BS, right? One thing I will give Chris Jones credit for, and I think I think he's an amazing player. Like, when that guy is healthy and he's on the defensive line, the Chiefs are just a better defense. You could put anybody back there, apparently at linebacker and DB, and they're still going to win games because Chris Jones is on the D-line. He's that important. Like, he's not as good as Aaron Donald, but he's in that echelon, man. Like, he's an elite defensive lineman in this league. And, like, I'm telling you, their corners are sorry, right? Their safeties, they're okay. Their linebackers, they're okay. Chris Jones and that D-line, crazy good. And it's because of Chris Jones. Chris Jones is just an amazing player in general. I do believe that he had a sack fumble. I'll say that. But by the rule, it was correct. He did land on top of Derek Carr. According to the rule book, you cannot do that. That is roughing the passer. I thought, to his credit, he did a great job of saying, I think they should review it. And I agree 100%. I don't mind the reviews. I really don't. Some people complain about it. I don't care. The game's already 3.5 hours long anyway. Right? I love the game of football. I couldn't get enough of it. In the NFL, they're a license to print money right now. I would watch that game over and over and over again. Doesn't matter. I've missed quite a few games this year because of my coaching this year. But overall, take my money, right? Go ahead and review it. If you think this could be the difference between winning and losing games, especially in the playoffs when it matters most, I'm all for it, man. I can't be mad at it. I won't be mad at it. I think it's the way to go. If they can facilitate reviews, I think it's a great idea. Excellent idea. And I thought it was so mature and awesome of Chris Jones. I'm not saying he hasn't been mature in the past. I don't know the guy. But I think that it was a really classy way to handle that, because I think a lot of people would have legitimately just come out and said the referees suck. And they do. I think the officiating sucks at all levels, guys. Youth, high school, it's perception. I can also tell you that the numbers for officiating are 100, they're absolutely down. I think they're down last I saw, they're down 25 to 26% in the last decade, because there's just, with social media and all the attention to anything and everything, it's just really hard to find officials that want to deal with the crap. It's not a fun job. You'd put that in the same category, being an official at any level of sports, you'd put in the same category as being a cop. You're the most hated person in that area of play on that field, in that area. You're legitimately the most hated person, whether you're an official or cop. I would go as far as to say, if you put an official in the room and a cop in a room, and you could get a free shot on just one of them, I almost guarantee you there are more people. I wouldn't be surprised if more people wanted to punch an official rather than punch a cop. You know what I'm saying? You could put the president in the room. Who's just driven up all the. You get what I'm saying. I'm not gonna get all political. You guys get what I'm saying. Not a very well liked person. You could put him in a room with an official, and I think the official still gets punched. The guy could be a really good dude and means well. Being an official would suck, but the officials really suck at their job anymore. They do it at the youth level. I'm telling you right now, in my league, the officials are bad. They're more guilty of actually watching the game than officiating the game. It's no BS. It happens. But I'll say this. Being an official, it takes a special kind of person. Right now, they're getting it big. They're getting it bad. But they've earned it. They've made a lot of questionable calls over the years. There's nothing wrong with having a checks and balances system for the officials. I personally believe that you should be able to challenge a penalty, especially holding penalties. I'm a firm believer that you should be able to challenge a holding penalty. Because there are cases like, let's say it's like 3rd and 2, and your team gets a first down, and it's a game-sealing type first down, like where you know the clock's going to keep running, and you get a holding call. I believe if you have the ability to challenge it, you should. If they look at that player's number, and they find out that that person actually had his hands within the body frame and was driving that player, and even though that player was trying to move out the way, the ball had already run past him and stuff, that's not holding. That's a good block. We shouldn't allow that to ruin a game. There's just a bunch of penalties and a bunch of plays that should be reviewed in the final 2 minutes. It hasn't stacked up, or the NFL officiating hasn't stacked that up because you don't want to continue prolonging the game. I get that portion of it. But sooner or later, games are really going to start getting lost. And Chris Jones was 100% correct on that. I agree with him. If you don't find a way to officiate the officials and officiate calls by using the replay, the technology you have, I think you're going to risk causing more problems. Now, it'd be great for ESPN and Fox Sports because that's what they do. They want the drama. They're first. They're not necessarily right. They want to be first. That's just kind of how news outlets are these days. But overall, I think reviewing certain calls would be great. Derek Carr said it himself. He thought it was a fumble. It was a sack fumble. Someone who's very guilty of fumbling in this league needs to stop doing that. Go back to fundamentals. However you want to say it. You guys get what I'm saying. Oh my gosh. Update. 5 minutes, 53 seconds left in the second period, and the Calgary Flames have tied it up 2-2 with the Golden Knights. We have a game in Calgary, man. It is a barn burner. I hope it continues to do what it's doing. We want the Golden Knights to win, but listen, I'm all about good sports games. Let's keep it up. Other Raiders news. Cornerback Nate Hobbs has been placed on IR, which means he's out for at least 4 weeks with a broken left hand, which he suffered at the last game. And that kind of explains why he might have played like crap that day, because it was a little rough for Nate Hobbs. I think overall, guys, and we talked about this in last week's show, I think the defense right now is regressing, and there's something going on. Personally, I've always been in the mindset that Jonathan Abrams is a problem. I don't think he's a very good football player, well, at this level. I think he's an excellent football player. I think he's playing out of position. To me, he should be like a nickel linebacker or something like that, a nickel safety. That guy should not be out in coverage. When he's targeted in coverage, he's allowed the league most. Like, I want to say against the Titans, he allowed a perfect passer rating, which is absolutely unbelievable and incredible, and shouldn't happen at this level, but he does. That's how bad he is in coverage. Excellent run defender. Does an excellent job of beating up on people. He's a very physical presence on the field, and he sets a tone. But in the passing game, he's an absolute liability, which also brings me to my next point. Nate Hobbs is out for the next 4 games at least because of that specific IR that the Raiders placed him on. It is okay. I think there's a light. There's a bright side of this. If there's a 4-game stretch to lose him, it's this upcoming 4 games, for sure. We'll review that schedule here in a second. With that said, I also want to bring up players I think, because the trade deadline is just around the corner, November 1st. Players I don't think will be on the team by November 1st. I think John Abrams is gone. I just think he's a liability on that roster, man. I don't think he really helps that much. I know he's trying and he's been training, and I just don't think he's in the right place. And I don't think this defense is fit for him, because I think the safeties in this defense need to be more coverage safeties. And paying his salary for him to just come in and be like a tackling safety, it's just not worth it to me, man. I don't like it. A box safety, it's good when I think a box safety was amazing in the Gus Bradley system. I don't like it in this system. I really don't. And that's the other thing we got to talk about. Patrick Graham has got to figure out a way to put his players in better matchups. I did not like the way he called that man defense against the Chiefs. It worked in the first half. Don't get me wrong. It really did. It worked in the first half. The problem is you have a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid who knows how to game plan and adjust against anybody. That's one of the reasons why he is such a Hall of Fame coach. It isn't just because his offenses seem to be prolific year in, year out. It's the fact of the matter that when his offense is struggling, and it doesn't matter who he's playing and all that, when his offense is struggling, the guy is the best in the league at legitimately making making adjustments and attacking that same defense that hurts you. If you're a defensive coordinator in this league and you're running the same game plan for a full game, you're kind of an idiot. You have to adjust. You don't have to change the entire plan, but you need to throw in more stuff. I don't like that he played man. I don't like that he had a linebacker covering Travis Kelce or covering a back out of the backfield. All Andy Reid had to do was run 2 slants and then a flat route underneath that. And you're asking a linebacker to scrape either underneath or over the top of that to make a tackle. It's unrealistic, and by the time the linebacker gets there, guess what? It's already too late. They've got a first down. The other thing was the tackling. There's something going on at practice. They're not practicing fundamental tackling. I will say this, the offensive line's gotten better. Run blocking, not pass blocking. It's still atrocious. So we know they're practicing blocking, but it's obvious they're not practicing tackling. I love my Raiders team, but I'm going to be real with you guys. I think their tackling is piss poor. It's really bad. If the Raiders are going to do anything in this trade deadline, they're probably going to be trading, and it wouldn't surprise me, but they will be trading Clelin Ferrell. Again, number 1 draft pick. I think he was a draft bust. He was somebody that the Raiders shouldn't have drafted at number 4 overall. You had Brian Burns out there from Carolina, all those players. You need to be trading Clelin Ferrell. You need to be trading Jonathan Abrams if you can get anything out of them. I also believe that the Raiders need to use their assets because they are a win-now roster. They have a bunch of guys that are in their late 20s, and you have to capitalize on that. If you can go out and get a dude that you believe you could re-sign in the offseason if he plays really well, do it. If a Brian Burns is available, go get him. Chandler Jones has been non-existent. We've said it the last couple weeks. Get a milk carton out for this dude and put a missing sign with his portrait on every milk carton in Las Vegas, in the world, honestly. He's been missing, dude. He had 2 good plays against Kansas City. 2 good plays. And for the rest of the year, he's been non-existent. The Raiders have basically paid him $17 million to warm a seat on the roster. Maybe that's on Patrick Graham. I don't think so. I think maybe he's washed. He's not very good anymore. And there's a possibility that he's 32. We were super excited about losing Ngakoue, right? And upgrading. It has not been an upgrade this far. Crosby is a one-man wrecking crew. It's great to have Denzel Perryman back. He's a tone setter, excellent tackler for this Raiders team. I think they need help, man. I do. I think they need help in the secondary. I think they need help at linebacker. I think they need help at defensive line. If the Raiders are going to improve anything, it needs to be one of those 3 areas, if not all 3 of them, at the trade deadline if they can do it. I know they're eyeing a cornerback. There's a possibility of hearing rumors about Brian Burns. That'd be epic. But right now, the prominent rumors is there's a possibility Jonathan Abrams and Clelin Ferrell are not on this roster come trade deadline. I think it's going to be much easier to move Jonathan Abrams than Clelin Ferrell. Again, Clelin Ferrell's been nothing but a disappointment since he was drafted number 4 in 2019. And I just don't know if I'm a team, why would you give anything for Clelin Ferrell? You know he's on his way out. There's absolutely no way the Raiders re-sign him in the offseason. So why would you give anything for Clelin? I think Clelin stays on the roster. I think he's a rotational piece. He stays a rotational piece. But John Abrams, he will be gone by November 1st. I just don't see him staying. He's not very good to begin with. Perfect. Again, one of the worst safeties in coverage in the NFL. Allowed a perfect passer rating against the Titans. Yes, the Titans, who don't even really have receivers. It's kind of where that's at. Not good. You don't want to see that. You don't want to be part of that list. No good. If I had a list, to just kind of get on the positive side here, if I had a list of players that I think are killing it right now, Josh Jacobs has been running like a man possessed. He's on pace for about 1,600 yards, which would be incredible. I don't think too many players in this league have ever run for 1,600 yards. I don't foresee it happening. He has a history of being banged up. He has a history of getting hurt. But the nice thing is, this run game, this run style, the way that they run gap and power, Josh McDaniels loves to run gap and power. It is a perfect offense for Josh Jacobs. And you could tell, they were running all over Kansas City. Running absolutely roughshod all over Kansas City. I think Josh Jacobs is balling out. If I were the Raiders, I'd be looking at extending him. If you can get him on a favorable contract, just do it. If not, then I do believe that the Raiders need to do a better job of getting Zamir White more carries. You drafted him in the 3rd round from Georgia. You did it to probably be the replacement for Josh Jacobs. I've seen him carry the ball like 4 or 5 times this year. I've seen Brandon Bolden, a 32-year-old running back who is more known for a third down pass catching back, has carried the ball more than Zamir White. And they're not even on the same athletic level. Not even close. Give Zamir White the ball more, man. He's a faster version of Jacobs. Is he as patient? Does he have as good a vision? No. But that will come with time. But Josh Jacobs killing it. Max Crosby's doing his thing. Devontae Adams and Max Crosby. Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, and Josh Jacobs, I believe, all have the highest PFF grades on the team right now. They're playing excellent football. Like, they're a huge reason why the Raiders are winning, right? Are even close to winning games. They're not winning, but they're really close. With that said, Raiders are 1-4. I hate to say this, but they're like the best 1-4 team in NFL history. I swear to you. Most talented, anyway. It's a slap in the face. It doesn't mean anything. But it's reality, man. Raiders are so good. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. They're the top two players PFF-wise with over 90 grades. Darren Waller has to get healthy. He's been non-existent this year, too. And again, I think this is on Josh McDaniels. I think Josh McDaniels really needs to pull his head out of his ass and find more balance. Continue to use your best players. And when your best players are double covered, distribute the ball out to guys like Hunter Renfrow, Foster Moreau. Again, Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, Brandon Bolden out of the backfield. He has so many damn weapons. Matt Collins being one of them. He's leading the league in receiving yards right now. He's leading the team in receiving yards right now. Matt Collins, the guy you signed from Miami, who was a special teams ace for Miami. He's come in and he's done a really good job. He's playing excellent football. Find a way to get him the ball more, man, whether it's screens and all that. And that's the other thing. I think Josh McDaniels does a great job with running back screens. But I believe the Raiders got to stay aggressive. They got to continue to push the ball down the field. But run the ball. Run the ball. I saw a stat. The Raiders are a 36 to 64% run-to-pass ratio. That's not going to win the Raiders games. They need to be like 45-55 in order to continue being winners, or in order to get in the win column more often. Firmly believe that. I also believe Josh McDaniels needs to do a better job of scheming his guys open. Stop telling Derek Carr where to go. Scheme guys open. Give him a set of reads and let him do work. Do the hurry up more. He's one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the hurry up offense. That's where he came from at Fresno State. He's got a cannon. Let Derek Carr, he's the most underappreciated quarterback in the NFL by far. 100% believe that. Have no problem saying that out loud. He's the most underappreciated quarterback in the NFL. He's one of the top 10 talents in the NFL. I saw a throw on the run against Kansas City to Devontae Adams, the second touchdown for that matter, was one of the most beautiful throws I've ever seen. Ever. You couldn't have placed it better. Double coverage, over the shoulder of Devontae Adams, not breaking stride, and he did it on the run, off his right foot. Beautiful, man. You cannot teach that stuff. That's talent. Too underappreciated. And Josh McDaniels needs to do a better job of protecting Derek, because that offensive line is trash in pass protection. They're great in They're great in running the ball. They're great run blockers. As a matter of fact, the rookie Dylan Parham is one of the top grades in run blocking in the NFL. One run block win rate. Dylan Parham's I want to say he had a grade of like 90 or above, which is incredible for a rookie. Continue to run the ball, man, and I think good things are really going to happen. This offensive line is really starting to figure out, their run fits, when to push, when to go after specific players. Really good situation. Run the ball. Let Josh Jacobs and Zamir White do what they have to do. Again, I think ballers right now, Max Crosby, Matt Collins, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams. I could definitely put honorable mention. I could put the rookie Thayer Mumford, the 7th round rookie tackle. Although he got beat a few times by Chris Jones the other day, who isn't as a rookie. I mean, grown-ass veterans get beat by Chris Jones. Chiefs defensive tackle, who's amazing. I think Thayer Mumford's done an excellent job. I think they found their right tackle of the future in that guy. That's part of the reason why they're not going to trade for a tackle, which I thought they might at the deadline. I think they'd go all defense if they're going to make any moves, and they need to. Here's why. And I'm going to say it like this. Here's why. The Raiders, offensively, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 6th overall in points per game in the league. 6th overall. 9th in yards per game. Let's see here. 8th in points scored. This is a top 10 offense. No matter how you look at it, it's a top 10 offense. Defensively, however, they are ranked 20th. They are ranked 21st in the league in yards allowed. So they've slightly gotten better. Don't get me wrong. It's better than what we've seen in years past, but it's not good enough, man. Not good enough when you're paying 2 pass rushers, $17+ million a year. Passing yards a game, 256. Again, they're ranked in the bottom 8. Shocker, right? Rushing yards. This is the one positive the Raiders can say on defense. They only allow 103 yards a game. They are top 10 in the NFL in rushing yards allowed, which is crazy because I think the middle of the defense is really soft. Points per game, dude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dude, they're 27th in the league in points per game allowed. So while everybody wants to point the finger at Derek Carr like they always do, because he's the most underappreciated quarterback in the NFL, the Raider Nation, again, Derek Carr, if this defense allows 26 points a game, it's Derek Carr's fault. 100%. That's what this fan base thinks. They're absolutely nuts. The Raiders need help on defense. They need to trade for a big dude, a big name. If they went after J.C. Horn from the Panthers, who seem to be on the verge of selling players like crazy, go get him, dude. Get another corner. Do what you got to do. If there's a linebacker you can go out, if there's some way you could pull off a trade for Roquan Smith to beef up the middle of that defense, do it. Absolutely. But the Raiders need help at a couple positions on defense. D-line, linebacker, corner. In my opinion. It needs to happen as soon as possible. Because this team is a win-now roster. I do believe that this team is going to turn a corner. And here's why. And this is part of what I alluded to earlier. I'm okay with Nate Hobbs getting a 4-week rest. It hurts the defense, don't get me wrong, because he's an excellent corner. He's one of the top-rated corners according to PFF right now. I think he's top 10, honestly. Nate Hobbs is killing it. He's a nickel corner playing outside, and he's getting... Dude's going to get paid. Dude is going to get paid. But Nate Hobbs is sitting for 4 weeks. They want his hand to heal. This is the 4 weeks to do it. 100% the 4 weeks to do it. The Raiders' next 4 games. The Raiders' next 4 games are the Texans, the Saints, the Jaguars, the Colts. All winnable games. Colts are sketchy. The rest of them, you win 3 straight, you're 500. All Josh McDaniels has to do is balance his offense more and scheme his guys open. You have Darren Waller. You have Devontae Adams, for F's sake. The guy does not look like he's slowing down. He's winning routes like crazy. You have Hunter Renfrow, who's just not the same guy he was last year. I don't know what's happening, but they have to figure something out with him. You have 3 guys right there that can catch the ball with ease. Matt Collins leading the team in receiving yards. Been a very pleasant surprise. Like over 15 yards of reception Matt Collins has. Get him the ball more. And while you're scheming that, ensure that you are feeding Josh Jacobs and Zamir White. Move that run pass ratio from 36% run percentage to 45. And you're going to see a much better team. You're going to see a defense that's not on the field as much. You're going to see a team that is dominating time of possession. One of the 3 here, there's 3 phases in the game, right? Offense, defense, and special teams. There's 3 more phases people don't talk about enough. Okay? Field position. If your team is winning the field position battle, you're in good shape. You're more likely to score, right? Turnover margin. The Raiders are not winning that this year. Right now they're negative in the turnover margin. It's not good. They need to start forcing turnovers. And if you can't force turnovers, can't force turnovers, you need to win time of possession on offense. Those are the three facets nobody talks about. The three main facets are offense, defense, and special teams. If there were 3 1A / 1B set, it's those. Time of possession, field position, turnover margin. The Raiders have lost 2 of those, and here's no secret, guys. Raiders are 1-4. They've lost 4 games at a combined 14 points. 4 games with a combined 14 points. In all 4 of those games that they lost time of possession. In the game they won, they had 5 more minutes than the Denver Broncos. The ball 5 more minutes than the Denver Broncos. It's right there, guys. It's fundamental football. Control the clock. They're a really good football team. This is a very talented football team. I totally see the next... I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders win the next 6 games. Jim Trotter said it himself. Texans, Saints, Jaguars, Colts, Broncos, Seahawks. All 6 of those games are very winnable. You're looking at 7-4 going against the Chargers, where you can get a bit of a payback game. Even if you lose that, you could drop to 7-5. You play the Rams, who aren't the same Rams as last year. You play the Patriots, again, who aren't the same Patriots. Steelers, Niners. This is still very easily an 11-6, 10-17 in a playoff team. They're not going to win the division by any means unless they go on a crazy run. This is very much a playoff team. And we'll see what happens. I think they roll the Texans. I think they beat them by a couple scores, to be honest with you. And I love it. But I do believe they need to do something before the trade deadline. As you guys know, it's a Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio. You guys can catch us every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where your host, Cale Henderson, will break down anything IE Vegas Sin City Sports, especially now that we have the Golden Knights underway. UNLV football still going on. UNLV volleyball is kicking ass. And you guys know we have to touch base on our Raiders. Always. You find us here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Love, peace, and hair grease, folks.